on our doorstep. There's some nasty winds with some of these storms too. The storm that's our immediate threat coming into Benton County has up to about 50, 55 mile per hour winds. But now we're finally starting to watch more cells develop just to our south right now. And so we're going to be watching those very, very closely. We have another cell that's just near Miami, kind of near the Bonita area. That's severely warned. We've got more cells in parts of southern Delaware County as well, kind of skimming right there with Adair. This is all coming in. River Valley, we're pretty quiet right now. We would have to wait and for more storms to fire up near McAllister, maybe around Lake Eufaula. But so far, we haven't really seen very much here at the moment. But when you look north, this is where we have the most activity as of right now. There's also this new cell that is probably going to be the most concerning headed towards Springdale. These storms to the north headed more towards Bella Vista, headed into Pea Ridge and Garfield, even the Bentonville, Centerton area. These storms are coming in for us. They've been producing a lot of rainfall, so we have multiple flash flood warnings just to our north. Here's a new severe thunderstorm warning coming in from the Springfield office. This includes McDonald County. It's for this storm that has up to about 55, now probably up to about 60 mile per hour winds, pushing off to the southeast over time. Right there with that leading edge is where that gusty wind threat will be. It's going to be probably coming into parts of the Beaver Lake area here shortly, skimming northern Benton County. Bentonville, we're going to be watching this storm as it comes in, and then this is the storm that's probably going to head in right towards the Cave Springs area, and then eventually into Springdale, Tawnytown. Fayetteville, will have to see how close we get with this storm. This is what it looks like outside in Springdale. You do see some of the rain that's out there just off towards the west right now. Little glimpse of some of the setting sun there off in the distance. But these are some of the storms that are starting to pop up. You're watching their rain shafts. They're finally starting to rain out as they come closer to the state line. Right now over Springdale, we have kind of mostly cloudy skies. It's been all over the place with our skies today. We've had clouds, then it turns back to being mostly sunny. Clouds come back in, and it's partly cloudy. You kind of get the gist. But when we've had these pockets of sun, we've been able to heat up the atmosphere. Now we're just watching the storms finally approach. Live look in Pensacola and Fort Smith, you're looking at the tops of some of these thunderstorms way off to the north. Some of these are all the way north into the Kansas area, northern Oklahoma. There's your sun. It's going to disappear behind the clouds here very shortly. So when are we going to get storms this evening? Updated timeline. For northwest Arkansas and into parts of eastern Oklahoma, we could be about 8 o'clock before we really get anything, maybe even 8:30. 9 o'clock after Fayetteville, Huntsville. Now we have a couple downpours that are out there every once in a while, but we're kind of talking about the meat of the strongest thunderstorms. Might be more 9 o'clock before some of us get them. But honestly, we're kind of, let's say, uncertain on how widespread the coverage of storms will be in the River Valley. So far, we haven't popped anything to our west. This is what we're going to have to get because the northern line is going to come in and it may kind of swing like this. And if that happens, it's kind of iffy if we get them in Fort Smith, Van Buren, and Sallisaw. But in Ozark, east to parts of the Mulberry area, and then that's back to the west, Ozark, Whitaker Village, you head into Clarksville, Lamar, Knoxville, maybe close to 10 o'clock or so before we get some of these storms coming in. So let's go back to the radar. I want to show you what it's looking like, and we'll zoom in just a little bit more closely. So we'll start in northwest Arkansas and kind of do a quick tour from north to south. Benton County, we're being surrounded. New downpour right over town. In fact, I may be able to switch. Hey, Steven, would you be able to switch? I've got the Springdale camera. If we could turn it to the Bentonville camera, I'll get off it so you could maybe take a look here in a moment. But this is what it looks like outside. We're going to try to get a live hit coming in from Bentonville, what it looks like with that new downpour as it's trying to move in. I'll switch it for you. That might be easier to do. So you're going to see this change here in just a moment. Try to switch this to the Bentonville camera. But you're looking live there towards the west, right along I-49. You're looking over, there you see the birds kind of flying around before these storms get in. So this is a new downpour that's been popping up over us. Starting to get some rain now for parts of Bentonville. New little downpour ahead of that main line. Saw a flash of lightning there. So we're going to be watching this storm grow over time. We've been waiting a little bit for this storm to really pop up and fire up, but it's definitely on its way as it's kind of moving in. I'm going to switch this to, there we go. So this is once again live look just south of the home office there in Bentonville. So let's take you back to the radar. What you're looking at was this downpour. It's coming right into Bentonville, right there, especially on the southwest side, Centerton, there towards Centerton. Bentonville West, we're getting that. You go up and down Regional Avenue. You got some of the Walmart distribution centers north of the airport. We're starting to get some of that rain. It's headed eastbound, right down Walton, right over Thaden Field. We're getting that heavy downpour spreading eastbound, right along Walton and into Walnut. This will be spreading into Rogers. And here's the western end of Beaver Lake, where you're watching the storms come in towards us. If you live in Prairie Creek, Even Montanay, we'll be watching out for this downpour coming in. Looks like we got another one near the War Eagle area. This is getting close to parts of where Camp War Eagle is. We're watching a downpour for you guys. But these are quick downpours that are forming. We'll have to see how strong they get. The bigger storm is just to the north. This one could pack a punch with some wind. I'll show you what those winds are looking like right now. Here's a look at velocity. Those are the winds kind of packed and charged right up there. Let me try to switch radars. There we go. See this dark, this kind of bright red. Noel headed into the Sulphur Springs area, Bella Vista. There towards Lake Windsor, we're going to be watching that wind come in, but most of it's just north into Pineville. This is headed east towards the Bella Vista Byway, there's 71. We're watching this wind skim the state line with Missouri and Arkansas. The other storms don't have a lot of wind yet, but they're starting to produce some lightning. The more they produce that lightning, means they're growing. Here's the cell towards Little Kansas. You look back west along Highway 412, we're watching some of these storms. Salem Springs, we're about to get hit by this storm coming in. There's Flint, Little Kansas, Cloud Creek, kind of where 412 meets 59. Colcord, we're watching this downpour. This is headed right into Benton County. So let's do a quick tour, north to south, county by county, what we're kind of expecting at least over the next hour or so. Benton County, we're surrounded. Big storm to the north. Got some gusty winds that are going to be approaching the state line. If you live in northeastern Benton County, they're towards Garfield and Pea Ridge. They're just north of Beaver Lake towards the dam. Prairie Creek area, we're also going to be included. Maybe even Sailboat Cove, you head northbound into the Lost Bridge area, Lost Bridge Marina. We're going to be watching this storm getting closer. We also have other downpours just scattered throughout the county. You go to Carroll County, we also have some downpours right now. We'll be really watching this storm because it's probably going to clip more Benton County and then come into Carroll County with some wind. This cell that's severely warned in southwestern Missouri. Madison County will wait just a little bit longer, but some of these cells are kind of dancing around us. They'll be coming in maybe within the next hour or so. Keep an eye out. Fayetteville and Springdale, Washington County. What are we expecting? Well, what's one thing that's noticed and interesting is this line, how it's starting to break up on its western edge. You've got this main line that's moving south and east. It's kind of like this. So you live east of Fayetteville, there towards Huntsville. We got a good chance of trying to get in on some of the action here. In Fayetteville, we've got to watch these storms. A little bit more scattered, a little bit more isolated. They could come in, but it's definitely going to be more hit or miss. And I think that could be the case farther to the south as well, unless we can just pop up more storms in Oklahoma. If we are not able to pop up more storms, we've got to work with what we've got. And these storms will move south and east over time. We could get clipped in Fayetteville, Springdale, Johnson, even Farmington. We could get clipped as well. Get some of these black lines off. So that's Washington County, Adair, Delaware counties. We're watching them downpours in around us, close to the Grand Ole Lake of the Cherokees. We're watching a good downpour. Here's this one, a little bit skinnier coming in. A couple lightning strikes with that one. We've noticed a downtrend in the lightning on this cell, so it looks like this has kind of been becoming a lone wolf and eventually shriveling up over time. We'll keep on analyzing that storm. But you got more downpours in Bentonville and then back off to the west, just west of Salem Springs. If you live in Salem Springs, you got to be looking out for a good downpour headed in. It's not severe, but it's trying to grow. Here's a loop over time. Trying to grow over time. This storm's pretty healthy, not severe, but good downpour from downtown Bentonville right into downtown Rogers coming in. Right there next to the Daisy manufacturing plant. Up and down the road there, you head up north to the Rogers Airport, Walmart FBO. Rainfall coming in for us, up and down 62, the industrial bypass there. We're watching heavy rain coming towards us as well. And here's Beaver Lake. If you live around Beaver Lake, we've got cells just kind of dancing around us. Now let's head a little bit farther south. Continue our tour. There's not a lot going on. You head southbound, and the only storms we've been able to fire are way south to the Red River. All day long, we've been wondering if there would be storms firing up to our west. There's a lot of heat, a lot of humidity off towards the west. But our frontal boundaries aren't quite in place. So when we're looking at frontal boundaries, we'll draw them for you real quick, just kind of roughly. You got the one off to the north, and then you have one off to the south. I know it's kind of a backwards one. Let me switch this. Be able to draw this about like that. So we got fronts. Storms so far have really just wanted to stay close to their fronts. They have not wanted to pop anywhere away. Look at this cell coming out of Oklahoma City, weakening as it heads eastbound. Most of the time, the storms are within at least 30 miles of their front. And so that's one factor limiting the threat for storms in eastern Oklahoma, let's say coming in from Muskogee and Okmulgee, trying to head eastbound towards Sallisaw, Poteau, and Fort Smith. We haven't been able to pop anything. If we continually are not able to pop anything, if we just can't spark something, we're going to be watching only some isolated storms developing throughout the river valley. It's really going to be this complex moving south and east over time. Now, depending on how far south we go, we could try to clip parts of the mountains and in parts of Johnson County, Franklin County. That's where we still have that level 3 threat. We're continuing to watch westbound too. If you can get more cells back to the west that come in, those will maybe have a better chance to come in to the south. But right now we're definitely struggling. So let's take a look back at the radar closer to. Let's zoom into Sequoia County. We're still waiting. LaFleur County, Crawford County, Sebastian County. We may wait a couple more hours. If we're not able to fire anything to the west, some of us may stay dry. And I know that's a big change from what we've been originally expecting throughout the day. Just nothing's been able to fire. I'm going to pull up something here in a moment. I want to show you a couple things in the atmosphere on what helps spark a thunderstorm. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a few things. Let's see. Because the thunderstorm, or the atmosphere, has a lot of heat and humidity, but you got to pop it. You got to be able to burst it into the next layer of the atmosphere in order to form a storm. Because you guys know it's been warm, it's been humid all day long. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at places where storms could potentially fire. What we have to watch is air coming into one another. When the air comes like this in all kind of different directions, it'll force the air up to go up. Otherwise, there's no way to get that thunderstorm to come up. So let's take a look at where those pockets are. Take me just a second to continue to pull it up. We actually use something like this during winter weather a lot to see where snow bands form, but the same thing can be used in severe weather. So we've got a small pocket about here. We continue to watch more storms just to the north and west of Tulsa, trying to fire at least a little bit. Let me zoom out a little bit more. We've got another firing zone kind of right in here, including the storm that's already there, but also a little bit to the north. We've got a firing zone here, and it looks like in northwest Arkansas, we've got just decent firing zones right in here. So what you're looking at are any place that's within one of these black circles is a location where the atmosphere has a higher chance of popping something up. It's kind of, it's probably kind of gross, but when you think of like a pimple, you got to add pressure to it in order to pop it. Same thing with a thunderstorm. You got to add pressure to the atmosphere in order to pop a thunderstorm. And we're noticing that take place in southwestern Arkansas. There's a bigger blob in southern Oklahoma, and we've been able to pop those storms. We have a pocket right over northwest, and notice where the storms are right now. And we also have a pocket back to the west in Tulsa that's still lingering. And we're still trying to watch if these cells will struggle. Right now they're struggling, but there's still the potential to watch some more cells try to fire up too. Another thing to watch will be this thing. See this? You guys know, that's an outflow boundary. Let me erase everything on the map so we can see a little bit better. This green line shows you rain-cooled air that's coming in. It's picking up some bugs as it heads right into the Tulsa area. This is some cooler air now coming in. Here's a new cell, new scan's got to make it a little bit larger. So once again, we're in that firing zone. There's the outflow boundary moving south and east. As that continues to move south and east, that can also try to pop up storms just on its own. So once this moves south, we could try to fire some stuff up, but right now, nothing's out there back to the west. We're just watching storms just to our north. Once again, we have that severe thunderstorm warning for parts of McDonald County with some wind coming right towards the state line. If you live in extreme northern Benton County from Pea Ridge, north of Avoca, north of the military park, Garfield, and Gateway, you can be getting some wind here very shortly. North end of Beaver Lake towards the Lost Bridge Marina, Sailboat Cove, you'll be watching some wind as well. But the other storms that we have right now, they're not really producing a lot of wind, just some rain and some lightning at this time. So we'll continue to monitor the situation. Once these storms get a little bit closer, we'll continue some coverage throughout this evening. This is a live look in Bentonville with some of those downpours around us. Right now, the sky's just kind of dark. Hit or miss storms that are out there. Live look in Bacola and Fort Smith. You're seeing some of those clouds on top of the storms get a little bit closer, now hiding the sun there. You're looking way off in the distance at some of these storms that are to our north. Will we get a storm in Fort Smith? We're not sure, but we got the chance out there just in case one pops up. Just a very volatile pattern. Normally don't have patterns like this in August. Kind of rare to even have a front moving this far south, first off. And I think that's one problem with this forecast is the front, if it just continues to stop, it's going to be harder to expand the storms to the south. But there is still the potential there. We still have coming in data from the National Weather Service, teams of meteorologists working there as well, still keeping us in the severe threat. Here's a look at the Futurecast for the rest of this evening, still watching downpours in northwest Arkansas all the way through 8 o'clock right now, 7:44. we'll watch the continued chance for scattered storms. But in this case, if it's only the northern branch, we're only going to get storms in northwest Arkansas, maybe eastern River Valley. You head south and west, it's going to be a little bit tougher. Still, potential is there, but it's definitely going to be tougher. You got an update, Stephen? Warning Benton. Okay, we'll get to that. I'll show you that warning. National Weather Service extending the warning into Benton County and northwestern Carroll County. Here's that storm. So it's mainly this guy right here. Good gust of wind with it. Headed right towards Sullivan, north of Bentonville. Kind of skimming parts of Bella Vista, there towards the Highlands Golf Course. You got Lake Windsor, north of Lake Atalanta. Here's that storm. But the warning does not include Bentonville, does not include Bella Vista, doesn't include Rogers. This warning is extreme northeastern Benton County, only including Garfield and Gateway, right before you cross into Missouri, trying to head north towards Cassville or Monet. There's a storm coming in Bentonville. Good downpour right over the promenade. This storm is not severe, but it's growing. Continues to grow over time. They're up and down Walton and Walnut, headed right from square to square. Maybe just on the south side of the square. It looks like Crystal Bridges and some of the mountain biking paths there, the American Trail just north of Bentonville, a little bit drier. You head south, though, you get closer to Bentonville High School and southbound towards Pinnacle Hills. We're in Shadow Valley. We're watching that downpour approach. North end of the runway at X&A, a little bit of rain. Gets a little bit heavier once you head eastbound into the Cave Springs area, especially north end of Cave Springs. Let's see. There's that downpour coming in from Little Kansas. The storm's getting a little bit bigger as well. A little bit of lightning on it. Now some rain picking up in Gentry, Decatur. Siloam Springs also getting some of that rain. In fact, a good downpour is about to hit the state line. Here's the state line right here. Got the downpour just about maybe 4 or 5 minutes to the west. That's coming in hot. You go south, still not going on, nothing going on. You look at some of the radar data. Every once in a while you see maybe a speck on the map that tries to go, but it fails over time. The most southern storm we have is the one that's just over north of Pin Oaks, north of the Wagner area, kind of hugging near and just south of Highway 412 coming out of Choteau, headed towards Leech and Little Kansas and Siloam Springs, where we're watching that storm. This is kind of interesting. Look at this storm coming into Delaware County, leaving 44, coming in towards Jay. This storm is weakening over time. Look how it's getting shriveled up just a little bit. So when we're looking over the next couple of hours, we'll see if this storm can add anything. But right now, it's mainly these two storms over Benton County that are trying to even form anything, try to hit us with some good rainfall. But these are not warned. If they do become warned, we'll let you guys know. Once again, just a severe thunderstorm warning for extreme northeastern Benton County, just barely coming over the state line with the wind threat. There may still be some heavy rain here on the western edge. We kind of split this up. Let's see, I might be able to divide it into, you can divide this storm kind of in two. There you go. And then let me pause it. This northeast end, this has some wind. This has some really good rain with it too, maybe even some small hail. You go west, this part of the storm, still good downpour, not as much wind. Now let's take a look at hail threats with this storm. See the hail tracker. Got some large hail in parts of McDonald County, headed into Washburn and Channel Lakes area. This is mainly just staying north. It looks like the cell, though, right over Bentonville and Rogers, try to put down at least a little bit of hail. Could maybe be some pea-sized hail, little pellets coming down, but still some hail possible over Bentonville, especially the south side of Bentonville. They're towards the Pinnacle Hills. They're towards the Walmart Amp, and headed east right into Prairie Creek. We've got a little bit of hail coming in for us. Also downtown Rogers, Daisy Manufacturing Plant. We're watching a little bit of hail for you guys. But the big storm, the big hail core, is staying in Missouri. And it looks like it should continue to mainly stay in Missouri. We have just the warning be a little bit bigger in the pocket because this thing could try to shift over time. But right now this thing is just headed into Washburn. As long as this hail pocket stays eastbound, we're going to be okay here in northwest Arkansas. Definitely okay in the River Valley, way too north for us. But we'll continue to monitor this storm. We'll continue to monitor the wind threat as well, trying to just skim the state line. I'll leave you with this live look outside Bentonville. Very dark clouds out there as we've got downpours popping up. Once they become severe, or they're about to become severe, we'll give you more updates throughout the evening. But right now, just downpours out there. So far, we've been kind of lucky when it comes to severe weather this evening. That's good news as we're trying to wrap up a Wednesday evening. But we're still on the clock. We're still watching these storms all the way through midnight. I think by midnight, we should be mostly done. There could be some scattered showers left over, maybe a quick rumble of thunder. But the severe threat goes all the way up until midnight. So it's not even 8 o'clock yet. Getting close. So you'll still have about 4 hours to watch the storms try to fire up, move in, and potentially try to become severe. Make sure you keep it here, keep it local. As always, we'll keep you advised.